All right, guys, happy Community Manager Appreciation Day 2016. We have been gathering as a community of community managers for 7 years now, ever since Jeremiah O. Wang tweeted out that, hey, every fourth Monday of January, we should celebrate Community Management Appreciation Day. Is that a thing? If not, it should be. We've been doing this live stream for 4 years now, for the last 24 hours. And for the last 3 years, we've given away awards, worked with sponsors to recognize individuals in the community management community. I'm just seeing how many times I can say community. So we had over 300 nominations this year for the awards, and they'll be announced throughout the day. My name is Brew, the Director of Awesome with BTC Revolutions, as well as co-host at My Community Manager. Super excited to be here. This is my favorite day of the year. So,
hey everybody, I'm Sherry Roddy. I'm the community manager at Magento and co-produce CMGR Hangout.
Hey guys, I'm Brock. I'm the founder of Amplify Your Biz, Amplify Yourself, and I'm also the community manager for Meshfire here in Seattle, and I have been having a blast today.
Hey guys, she has to deal with me. My name is Dom. I am a project manager and community manager with Be the Change Revolutions, as well as a co-host with Sherry and Brew for My Community Manager and Community Manager Hangout. Wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors. This day really wouldn't be able to work and go off how awesome it has been without our sponsors, especially when it comes to the awards. So big ups to Salesforce Community Cloud, Higher Logic, Online Community Results, Sprout Social, Vanilla Forums, Zoomph, CommunityManagement.org, SocialMedia.org, Amplify Yourself. Can't forget about Igloo Intranet or Meshfire. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for all of your support. And the award we're actually giving out at the beginning of this panel is for the Diplomat. The community manager that handles all interactions with tact and with grace. We had a huge list of nominees for this award. The finalists that we had were Nikki Ficca, Kristen Gastaldo, David DeWalt, Chrissy Hughes, and Bassie Ateem. And the winner, go ahead and drum roll it up, ladies and gentlemen. It is Bassie Ateem from the New York Times. So congratulations to you, Bassie. You can check on cmad.co, and we'll have the updated list of award winners throughout the day. So, Brew, what we got going on this hour, buddy?
Well, this is hour 13 of 24. So we've made it over the halfway mark, and it is building community with live stream. And Kristen, we're going to just kick things over to you and kick back and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Happy CMAD. I'm not coming up. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Just checking. All right. Happy CMAD. I'm excited to be here with a panel that I am so excited for. I will not attempt to hide my bias. My name is Kristen Cardos. I work in community with Convince and Convert, with V3 Broad Suite, with Miss Amy Schmidtauer and her Social Authority membership group. I am also kind of on the team with the My CMGR crew. I get to help moderate the CMGR Hangout chat each Friday, which is a blast. Really happy to be here. So live streaming has been all the rage. You know, some people are even getting tired of hearing about it. Oh, we're going to talk about live streaming again. But I think it's really important and really relevant for community managers because it's emerging and it's interesting, and there's a lot we can learn. So if you look at this panel, who are about to introduce themselves, you'll see not a whole lot of community managers here. But what we have is people who are very well-versed and enthusiastic and vocal about the power of live streaming. So I thought that they had a lot to bring to the table as it relates to community. So that's the angle that we're going to be taking today. So with that, let's just start introducing ourselves. Start with Amy.
Hi. My name is Amy Schmidtauer, and I host a YouTube show called Savvy Sexy Social, helping rising stars and small brands grow their authority and brand awareness online.
Right on.
And her
Brian?
favorite color is clear.
Her favorite color is clear.
And my favorite color is clear. Yes, I left that out this time. I'm so sorry.
Brian?
Brian Fanzo, better known as iSocial Fans on the Twitters, and I do the Periscope. But I like to say my community manager, CMGR Hangout, actually was really kind of how I got my started in live streaming, or what I like to call social live video. And so what Brew was talking about, this is 4 years of them doing live streaming video with Google Hangouts. They were actually the ones that pioneered it for me to really embrace the power of video. So it's also one of my favorite days of the year, and I don't like the I'm not blessed enough to, I'd say, understand and always say that I'm a community manager, but I have the best community in all of live streaming, and I'm not afraid to say that.
Right on. Dawn?
Hey, can you guys hear me? My name is Dawn Carter, and I'm based in Riverside, California. I was recently the marketing director for TWUB, so my space has always been the Twitter chat space, and I'm not a community manager, but I'm a host of 2 different chats, TWUB Chat for TWUBs, which is all amplifying events, and then also really just using live streaming on Periscope and Blab. So I love seeing communities grow and the element that live streaming brings to it.
Yes. Vincenzo?
My name is Vincenzo Landino. Vincenzo Landino pretty much everywhere in social. Founder of 50th Street Creative, a digital marketing agency, and I also host the Brand Boost podcast. And like Brian, we've been on the Periscopes and Meerkats and all the other sorts of, what did you call it, Brian? Social live video? Is that what we're calling it now? So for the sake of this conversation, we're calling it social live video.
Yes.
And, yeah, this is a good panel. I love it. I'm glad to be here. And Kristen Cardos should win. I don't know if there's an actual category for best overall community manager ever in the history of community managers, but that would be Kristen Cardos.
I agree. I think the 4 of us would all say that she's impacted our community in an amazing way in 2015. So the fact that she asked us on here is pretty awesome, because Kristen Cardos is part of the reason that I believe that my community is as awesome as they are. So I agree, Enzo. Well said.
Thank
We
you,
agree.
guys.
We agree on something, Brian. I hope it's the last time for this hour.
Thanks, you guys. High fives all around. Now we're done with that. Moving right along. Okay, so all of us that are on here today, we've been kind of around for a little while. We have our personal branding stuff going on. We've done some things professionally. So you could argue that we are involved with or already have existing communities. So question 1 is, what impact has the emergence and growth of interactive video had on your existing community?
I guess I'll jump in. You know, the existing community that is there, whether it's been Twitter or Facebook, and then more recently the podcast, you know, this interactive video is really giving a face and a voice, a personality to the name. Oftentimes, all we see is a little, you know, this little square with someone's picture on it, and we're supposed to, you know, get some sort of personality from that photo, or maybe 160 characters in a bio. It's very, very hard to do that. So interactive video has given everybody, no matter how big or small you are, the opportunity to make an impact directly with the people that follow you, your friends, and potential or current clients, whatever it may be. I'm going to speak from like the agency side at some point too. So interactive video has been amazing for that, and you know what? And I know Brian's got something to add on to that, so I'll let him say it because I know exactly how he'll follow it up.
No, I love it. And Enzo, you know, we're going to agree again. This is twice, so this is 2 more times in 2016 than we have already.
What? I'm scared.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of. But you know, I actually think of live video. You know, if you listen to the last panel about personal branding and the importance of standing out, especially for a brand or, you know, anyone, it's really hard to stand out, and everybody wants to be transparent, authentic. They want to, you know, make people believe in who they are. The hard problem is a lot of brands and a lot of people have sucked for years, and they've hidden behind their online digital presence and the fact that they could hide behind an avatar or a blog And really the reason I think video is powerful is it allows people to look you in your digital eyeballs, and they allow you to actually scale your truth factor, like trust aspect, and I think for all of us on this panel, I think part of this comes down also to the point where how do we deliver the most amount of value, engage, and the key to being a great community is that you have to not only listen to your community, which I think is probably the most important, but you have to let them know they're heard. And it's extremely a lot of work. And Amy, I can say, Amy's side on the YouTube world, I think YouTube kind of started this craze where the comments section and the idea that people that were great YouTubers were having conversations in the comment section, not just letting people just say great video or thumbs up or let me give you a heart in the YouTube heart sense. So for me, the reason social live video or live interactive video is so powerful is it's a conversation, not me blasting at you, which is what we've kind of lived in the last 5 years in the social space.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that since you sort of nodded to YouTube. I absolutely agree, and it is interesting because I think that, like you said, YouTube in the comment section was really sort of this groundbreaking thing in social for a while in the early stages, just because it was something that people were kind of afraid of because people are actually sharing their feelings or maybe not their feelings and just trolling, and creators sort of had to come to terms with that. And that's the most interesting dynamic that I've seen going from scripted, non-scripted, but edited content in YouTube world versus Periscope, is sort of seeing that interaction one-on-one. And I think as soon as you embrace it in either place, the cooler it can actually be. And I actually think that my audience has seen such a different side of me in the live format because I don't know, I guess I do a heck of a job editing myself where people don't know that I can actually hold my own in the live world. So it's really interesting, and again, it's just access, and you really do see that in the comments. And like Brian said, it's all about listening and looking in those comments and making sure that you're getting that confirmation that what you're doing is something that your audience wants and wants more of, so that you're not ever doing something that's a waste of anyone's time, especially your own.
There we go. One of the things that I've seen is a real growth in that there's a continuum of intimacy, if you can use that, within your community, with just Twitter or just using text. You're seeing, an aspect. I think that's what Brian and Vincenzo were just saying. I mean, there's a piece that and that little avatar, what they're tweeting, but to be able to actually take it one step, I mean, on the continuum from I can text you, I don't see you, but then there's actually seeing the end of the continuum would be, meeting face to face. You're moving your community closer that way. I found that dynamic really interesting after adding live stream, or we would move to Blab for an after party after a Twitter chat, and the dynamic and the energy that was there, because you can't sense that when you're just in a Twitter chat, and to see that live stream interaction and people laughing, and it was just live stream just took added a new dynamic to my community.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I see it as sort of a magnifying glass. They're like, for me personally, there have been individuals that I was familiar with from the communities that I've worked with, and maybe familiar with, knew something about, had somewhat of a relationship with, and then maybe boom, like the first time that I saw them on a live stream and was able to interact with them that way, it just totally magnified my level of familiarity with them, my interest in them, and it's just a great new way to communicate. So I totally agree. All right, let's roll into question 2. So, there's been a lot of focus on how readily available and easy it is to use live streaming platforms, and that's true. You can go in and you can hit the button and there, boom, there you are. But there's so much more to it than that if you're using it well, and especially when it comes to the community building aspect. So question number 2 is, what are some challenges or barriers for building community with live streaming? And then do you have any caveats, maybe any lessons learned or things to be careful about?
You asked if there were barriers or what?
Barriers or obstacles, anything that would be a challenge when it comes to that piece of live streaming.
there's a barrier to anything, and that barrier, even though, and I just I was actually, so I guess there's not technically a barrier to everything, but with live stream, the bar is set really, really low, right? There's that entry point is anybody. I can give my phone to my neighbor who's probably never done a live video before, and she can go on and do live video. And you know what? I can just as easily have a branded account here and go give it to the guy walking his dog right there and say, here, do that. So yeah, in that sense, the barrier is low. But in the sense of businesses, brands, even personal brand personalities, live video has proven that, and this goes back to what Brian and I were getting at in the beginning, it's proven that you need to have quality, you need to be captivating, you need to be engaging. So in that regard, it's challenging because not everybody can do that. Not everybody knows how to engage with the audience. There's people that just want to use it as a broadcast tool, and for some it works. For some brands, that's fine. You'll never get a brand to maybe interact or engage to the point where a Brian Fanzo engages, or the way Amy engages, or the way Kristen engages, or the way Dawn engages. Sometimes you just won't do that. But the barrier there is finding the balance and knowing when enough is enough.
I think what you're saying, I think that's the beauty and the curse of live stream is that it's keep it simple, stupid, right? And the idea that it's keep it simple, stupid is why it's powerful. But it also allows keep it simple, I'm going to be stupid and not have a strategy or a plan, or I'm going to do something on live stream that is going to embarrass me. And I think the idea that it's live, I think my caveat, my lesson learned for everybody is live does not give you an excuse not to have a strategy. Because it's live, because you can press the button. And that's the difference between anybody can press the button and anybody can actually add value, build a community, and ultimately change people's lives by pressing that button. And I think that comes into everything from the title you use, the time of day that you use, the length that you're going to actually leverage this platform. And I mean, that's why like my whole think like a fan philosophy, the reason that came out of something was I want brands, I want people to say, what would I love to see? What access, and I love that Amy used the word access, because to me, that's probably the most valuable aspect here. If you have a community, and you're like, man, I have the best community ever, they love when I do webinars, well, what if you were able to give them access to you more, or access to things behind the scenes, or access to things that they never thought they would have access before? I'm an Apple fan. If Apple live streamed and took me behind the scenes into the Apple developer lab that no one has access to, it would make me more of a fan. Now, Apple's kind of an exception to the rule, but I think ultimately to build a community today, you have to relate with them and give them access so they feel special. And I'll give a shout out to my favorite community person in all the world, Tim McDonald. And Tim McDonald always told me there's an element of the velvet rope, and you want to give exclusivity, and you want to make people realize that the value you're providing is truly personalized for them. And nothing does that better today than live streaming.
That's so well put, Brian. I mean, really that idea of access, there's also the flip side of that where brands have to be comfortable with the vulnerability that live streaming will have. You better prepare your butt off before you do that, because your audience, whether you're a personal brand or you're a business, they're giving you one of the biggest gifts there are, which is your time. And I think a lot of brands forget that, I mean, we all talk about noise on the marketing side, but if I'm going to be live streaming, I better be delivering something educational or entertaining, or giving people that behind the velvet rope thing. But I think when it comes to, there are some brands that are uncomfortable. Here's an example. I tried to invite someone who's high ranking within my city, love him, into a live stream situation, but was not comfortable right off without coaching, without those types of things. So not everyone is comfortable with some of that anxiety, or the being comfortable within the unscripted space, which you can still be prepared, but you still have to be able to be organized and be able to present yourself well. So I think that would be my one caveat, or make sure that you're prepared to be able to be comfortable with, I mean, live streaming, you're going to have wacky things go wrong. You're going to have your personality come out. I was holding up Q&A props for the first couple live streams I did, and I didn't realize they were backwards on live streams. So it said AQ. So what? But that's me. I mean, I'm a goof. But those being comfortable with that kind of not being perfect, I think that is one of the things to just check yourself before your brand. Your brand has to be comfortable. Whoever's hosting has to be comfortable with, you know what? Hey, that's life, and that's part of the risk.
Yeah, and I would just piggyback off of that because I was going to say something very similar. I think in most cases, especially in my scenario where I do speak with a lot of brands about starting to engage with video, and not even just live streaming, YouTube, period, there's this level of prestige that every brand believes that they have ingrained in whatever they've designed, because we put our blood, sweat, tears, heart, and soul into these things. Then we want the rest of the world to see it the same way. And the idea that everyone's saying get on live stream right now, and some brands haven't even embraced video or really embraced what it means to be a personality on video and what that takes. You can be very passionate about your business or your brand. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be great on video, a compelling representative of that brand on video. So live streaming is even more difficult, I think, for a lot of those. It doesn't matter what size brands to embrace. It may be as easy as pushing a button on your smartphone with an LTE signal or Wi-Fi, but it's also that hard because it's incredibly impactful when you reach those people.
Well, and I think for me, one of the things that I think like two of the greatest illusions that we as community managers and believers in the power of community have realized, but brands have not realized, is that control is an illusion and perfection is an illusion. Not only can we not control our message, our story, our conversation, but nobody wants perfect because we don't believe anybody is perfect. And I think when a brand starts to get that, then they get video, right? Then they get Amy, then they start investing in their YouTube story, then they start realizing the power of digital eyeballs. The problem becomes in this illusion that we know better than everybody else. Our customers are dumb because that's what they told us. And this whole Henry Ford idea that if they would have told us, if I would have listened to my customers, they would have had faster horses, not cars. Well, guess what? Our communities and our people now know more information and have access to more information. So for me, the reason when I pitch a brand on live streaming, the words Periscope or Blab or Meerkat or Facebook Live never come out of my mouth, because that scares people. But when I say, do you want to tell your story? Do you want to relate with your audience? Do you want to build a community? Do you want to prove that you have a great culture, not just something stupid you have on your website? Every one of them say, yes, 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 yes. And I say, oh, by the way, I can do that leveraging this platform. And to me, that's where this idea of control and perfection is finally blowing up. Because last time I checked, nobody believes any brand, I don't care what brand it is perfect. And we just need to get over that.
Excellent. That leads well, actually, into the next question. So question 3, what are some examples of people or brands doing great things with community via live streaming, and why is it that you like them? And I think this will be good for community managers who are watching, who may be new to the concept. This will give them some ideas of folks to keep an eye on. So what have you got? And feel free to use your biases. If it's not a brand that you're involved with, that's fine.
It would be foolish not to bring up the projects I've been involved with, along with Brian Fanzo, Applebee's, Embracing Live Stream. They were the first, and I'm going to say this, they were the first brand that really embraced the power of interactive social video. I just happened to be the benefactor of that, and they expanded upon that because they already were building a great community, and for them it was like, how do we tap into that community deeper? How do we give them more of what they are craving or what they've come to expect? And for anybody that's seen Applebee's on Twitter, I mean, they are one of, if not the best brand that I've seen. There's no brand that I've seen that handles their social media accounts. You can tweet at them, you can Facebook post and tag them, you can Instagram post, and they will respond to you. Somebody will respond to you. And what they've done, and again, with my relationship with the BTC team and Applebee's, what they've done is create a team of dedicated individuals that all they do is handle the Applebee's account. So you know you're talking to a human being. It's not automated, garbage, canned responses. And what they did when live streaming came out was said, we need to give that same personality to our audience through live streaming, give them this exclusive live look at behind-the-scenes events. And, you know, we did that in New York City at Times Square with their Taste of Change and celebrities. I got to interview Jason Derulo. That was something that not everybody saw. That was just for people watching on the Periscope or the Meerkat, whatever I was broadcasting with at the time. And then, you know, we had another opportunity later on, but that was one example. I really like, you know, Red Bull's doing some cool, they show off some really cool stuff on their live streams. Royal Caribbean, they worked with, was it Dan Moore? On doing some really, really awesome stuff around cruises. And, you know, just here it is. Cruises are like, I think the cruise industry is like is in a downward trend. And they said, well, how can we show off our amazing locations that we stop at? You know, forget the actual boat itself, forget the ship. We're going to show off these amazing locations that we go to. And they used a Periscope streamer, Dan Moore. So those are different communities there. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I think you're onto something. And I love that you brought up Applebee's. We were both lucky to be a part of that. But you know, it's funny. People were talking all the time about, you know, fear of missing out, and, you know, we shouldn't jump everywhere, and people are afraid of everything. Well, guess what? Be the Change Revolution, the agency behind Applebee's and a bunch of other brands. Guess what they do? They trust the brand trusts the agency trusts their advocates and their influencers, and guess what they do? They do cool shit every single day. And I think if you're not following them on Twitter, I don't think there is a better brand on Twitter than Applebee's. They tweet during Pretty Little Liars TV show because they have a huge audience that is watching that show and cares about that, and they know that they are not the ones paying the check at Applebee's, but they're the ones influencing their parents on where to eat. Like, let's take a step back and realize the power of an agency that has a trust in their brand and a brand that is willing to embrace it. Because, I mean, I've been working with a bunch of brands on live streaming, and it's a pain. I mean, it is very difficult to teach change, embrace change. But I will tell you, part of it is giving them baby steps and talking about people like SAP. You know, like SAP for me sponsored a Blab show that I had every Thursday. And that Blab show has grown, and they've found immense value. Well, I'm now live streaming the Super Bowl with 5 other brands, and I'm flying a week from today. I'll be doing one of my 34 Blabs from the Super Bowl city there at the Fan Energy Zone in San Francisco. And that is a brand that has really embraced the idea of community. Because guess what I'm not doing? I'm not selling SAP services. I'm not giving a call to action that says, you have to buy this, or I'm not putting it behind a gated piece of content that says, sign up for my email list so I can spam you, and then I'll give you access to this great content. What we are doing is we're empowering the community to have a conversation, and when people look back at it, they say, well, who was the one that was empowering that? Oh, it was SAP. Oh, it was Applebee's. You know, I agree, Red Bull, Royal Caribbean. I've done some great work with SanDisk, where SanDisk sent their product to 25 influencers, and the rule was you get to give away one product, and I want you to open it up on live stream and use our product with your initial feedback. Because guess what? If that product sucked, I would have said it sucked when they sent it to me. But when I plugged it in, it worked like it said it worked. I found it valuable, and guess what? 14 people bought the product before I could even give away my free product because of the power of live stream and the brand embracing and trusting their influencers and conversation and community. So I love those examples. I think there's going to be more brands. You're going to see a lot more brands in the very near future coming up with a more holistic strategy on where live streaming fits. But I also will challenge anybody this, and Amy, I would love to hear your thoughts. I really think that if you don't have a YouTube strategy or a video strategy, you probably are going to really suck at live stream. And let's just be honest in that side, because if you don't understand the power of video and the ultimate evergreen aspect of being able to talk to people and with people, you're really going to struggle with this. And I've learned that because I like to say any influencer or periscoper can get a one-night stand with a brand. Very few can get them to call them back the next morning. And the reason I believe that is because you sell them on initial value of live, but you forget the power of video to extend that relationship with a brand.
Yeah, and I would agree with that because I think live stream is really special, sort of how it's working in the moment. But at the same time, I believe that you don't have a great video strategy unless you're investing in your archives, which is what makes YouTube really special. And honestly, and this might be a little odd to everybody, but when I was thinking of brands that are really doing a good job of live streaming, it's sort of funny how YouTube is actually doing a good job because a lot of people forget that YouTube has that capability and has had it for a really long time, not just because of this very technology we're using, but it's been integrated into channels for high-end creators for a long time. And I actually think when you think about going to where the eyeballs are and bringing them the content that they not only want to see but should see, I really enjoy seeing how much the political arena has changed because of social media and specifically live streaming. So very, amazing creators, some good friends of mine that are fortunate enough to have a couple million subscribers, get to ask questions to the President of the United States or get to ask questions to a political candidate and in a live format on YouTube. So I think both politics and YouTube coming together, I think that's very interesting because if anything, we've learned that a lot of people are getting rid of cable, they're getting rid of their regular TVs, and they're tuning in to the internet. And so I think that's what makes live stream really important overall, and that's one actually impactful way in how we live our lives, especially in the United States, that we're seeing happen with live streaming.
Yeah, and I'll throw this in there before Dawn jumps in, just before I forget, because I know I'm going to. Mazda, Brian, you saw my latest Mazda thing, and so I'm working with those guys, and it was just funny because Brian made a comment about the brands trusting the influencers or the agencies implicitly, and so for those of you who don't know, I was given a car from Mazda to drive, and I asked, what are the stipulations? Absolutely none. So they trust implicitly, and they actually have a really good team, a really good community team. They're responding to like a bunch of tweets. If you look back, there's a ton of replies. But there's no. It's like, go ahead, do your thing. We trust you. Review it, good, bad, indifferent. Go for it. Live stream, and obviously other methods as well. But so shout out to those guys too, because it's crazy to see it. They're another big name brand. Like, Brian mentioned SAP, we mentioned Applebee's. So it's good to see that brands are jumping on board with trusting influencers or trusting agencies that they're working with.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and jump on in because trust, Brian hit it right on the nose to say the brand has to give up that illusion of control, because control equals I don't trust you, right? I don't trust that what's going to come out of your mouth or what you're going to stream or what you're going to show is going to be in alignment, or it's just a scary space for a lot of brands. So I think one of the brands that's killing it, and I'm so glad that Amy mentioned YouTube, because I think Blab as a brand has done phenomenal. Most of the world doesn't even know what their brand is, what they are, but the way influencers, the way that they're bringing the trust factor that's there. That whole control thing, imperfection. They'll launch things and let things. Some of that is just product development strategy, but they'll release things and then have the nerve to get on camera, live stream, and hear the feedback publicly. That takes guts to be able to basically have your product feedback loop public. And I just think you got to believe in the product that you're using to be able to have that kind of to be open to release the control into the hands of influencers. I think another excellent thing that they're doing well in terms of community is that they're promoting the community to really, if they want to get together, they want to host something just similar to like what Periscope did, but if you really want to have your community on fire and that they're engaged, you let them organize the get-togethers, let them get together in real life. I think that key of encouraging face-to-face meetups with other people that love and are passionate about your brand, somehow facilitating that. You can't always make it happen, but you can basically release that potential into your community, and people get crazy about that. They make friendships and do all that crazy stuff.
Well, and I think something before I let Kristen get in here, and actually I'm going to flip the script because Kristen knows that I like to just cause trouble. But I want to ask Kristen a question, because I actually think, in the scheme of the world that we're in right now, The reason, to me, most brands, when they get on Periscope or they get on Snapchat even, because Snapchat is a live video aspect, you guys haven't realized it, it's storytelling live video at probably one of its most purest forms, and I think it's something that, it's going to stop being something that we're talking about being great, and people are just going to start using it to do great things. But bridging your community is extremely freaking hard, and the main reason is because people build followers on channels, they don't build a community. And if the reason I think some brands are doing great, like the Royal Caribbeans, like if you've been to a Royal Caribbean forum, if you've gone to the Royal Caribbean website, if you've been following them on Twitter, they've been engaging their community since day one. But a brand that's got, let's say, in the same space, that has never built a relationship or engaged or quote-unquote showed they care of their community, when they get over to live stream, they're like, why is nobody engaging me? Why is nobody asking me questions? So, Kristen, my question to you is, what is your thoughts from a community manager? Because I think you're the very best community manager when it comes to live streaming space, engaging, providing value, but you're bridging that audience from like a Twitter audience to here, a YouTube audience to live stream, a Google Plus Hangout audience to Blab. What are your thoughts, Kristen? I would love to hear your thoughts on how you've done that in a way that has been so damn successful, because I think every community manager could learn on what you've been able to do in more than one community, 10 communities that you support in a live streaming space.
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's going to tie in nicely with the next scripted question about engaging. I think really my approach is very just gut. It's not scientific. I don't have a manual that I follow. But what I just do, the communities that I'm involved with and the people that I'm involved with, I just spend the time there with them in a really natural kind of way. I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm paying attention to them. I am asking questions. And I do that on all the various platforms, whether I'm doing it for myself or for one of the other communities. And I think it's that consistency, and I know that word gets used, ad nauseum, but the consistency where you're just being the same everywhere. I think what that does is it makes somebody who isn't, let's say you are on Twitter, and then this person's they're going to join Snapchat. They know you, and they find you to be credible or interesting, so they're going to seek you out. And then they're going to get the same experience with you on that platform. So that's just my way of thinking about it. I hope that answers the question. And it actually, it kind of was question 4, which is, what are your tips for making meaningful connections via your live streams or others? And the or others is key, because I know that all of you, like me, you do live stream, but you also spend time participating in others' live streams. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
I have to openly admit I don't watch as much as I used to. Brian knows that.
Did we booth in front and hang out right now, or let you
No. Listen, I've watched my fair share, so I have to get back to doing that. But it's neither here nor there.
Okay, fair enough.
I know how to add value. Jumping in, adding to the conversation, asking pertinent questions. But also, and this is something that I think a lot of viewers should understand, and what I wish they would understand more of, that to be a broadcaster or to be a live streaming broadcaster, live video brawl, whatever we're calling it, in order to do that, you need to see comments that are relevant to what you're saying. So, yeah, we all have trolls. Let's just forget about that stuff for a second. I'm talking about pertinent value. If you are somebody that asks questions, that asks good questions, or engages and adds to the conversation being had, good. But there's a lot of times that people just add comments that have no value, or just banter to have to fill up the screen. And I think that is one tip. Like if I were somebody that was watching a Blab, I'm not going to sit there and comment every single time, because I know that, number one, there's a ton of people being blown through, and so with Periscope, the comments go quickly. But still, you can add value without being annoying, or without there's some people that they're constantly commenting, and it's like, I can't see what you're saying because you typed 1,000 things, and I'm missing other people's comments that are equally as important. So I want to say that to viewers. When you're viewing, just respect the fact that the person that is talking can't always respond, because they may not even see it. And I've gone back and looked at replays, and I never even saw comments that showed up. sometimes.
And I think what
it's crowded. There's a lot of people. It's moving quickly.
There's a lot of people. It's moving quickly. And as a broadcaster, go ahead, Brian.
No, I think I love it because I always preach comment to add value, not comment to be seen. And there's definitely a difference. But something for people that are watching this, and maybe you're like, God, I'm so tired of hearing about damn live streaming. Like, get out of my face. What I will challenge you on is something that, to me, is extremely important. Periscope got the #1 app in the App Store, the #1 app. And a majority of their users, over 80% of their users, don't use its main freaking feature. That's the start broadcast button. So maybe you're like, I don't want to embrace video. Maybe you can add value, you can gain your own value, and ultimately you can make a huge difference in live streaming, never hitting the button, by just simply doing what Vincenzo was talking about, listening, adding value. I mean, if you went back and watched the first 13, which I think is awesome that we're lucky 13, the first 13 CMAD events today, the words listening and trust were in every single one of those. And the funny part is, to build a trusting relationship and to listen to people, it doesn't mean you're the one talking. No one says on live streaming that the person on video is the only person adding value or ultimately building trust in conversation.
I mean, there's plenty of people in our community. Amy and I do, with Sue Zimmerman, every week we do the Scope Pass Sunday where we're adding value to the community. But there's more times that I've learned more about people just watching, that are there watching, that they've never been on a broadcast, than those that are broadcasting all the time, and they're adding more value. They're adding to the community. They're talking to others. They're helping us out by saying, hey, here's what you missed. I was I was listening. I caught that point. Here it is. I love when people are in there recapping what I'm saying for others, because it's like, now that's a value add, because I can't do it as a broadcaster. And so yeah, I mean, Amy knows how it is every week with us and with that community. I mean, it's an amazing community we built there.
Speaking of Amy, what have you got, girlfriend?
Well, I would just piggyback off of that again. I think it's all about empowerment of the audience and letting them take ownership in what you're doing, that they are a really integral part of it. And I think everybody kind of said that in their own way. That's truly what it is, because we can only accomplish so much as the creators themselves, and so we really need to just get the audience activated and make them feel like they are a part of this whole thing. And I actually think we saw something for Scope Pass Sunday specifically that was really special this weekend, because we actually got to in person spotlight one of our community members who we just so happened to come into her life at a really good time, and she was going through a hard time, and we helped her in a way that we never would have thought possible, and we got to hear that story firsthand. She drove to Sue's house and was a part of Scope Pass Sunday during Sue's session. So it's just really cool when you allow yourself to embrace this idea that you can actually affect your audience in such a cool way. It will help you even kind of wrap your mind around activating them even more, just at the potential of something that is a percentage of how big that was to happen. It's really cool.
Right on. Dawn, what you got? Uh-oh, are you muted again?
I muted myself, whatever. Yep.
It's all good.
But the whole idea of making meaningful connections, it's going to be different for everyone in our audience, but I think being aware that everyone has the desire to be heard. And however that looks, whether it's giving them a shout out back on, Twitter or a video thing or just a DM, whatever it is, and mixing it up. I think that, sometimes we can, as producers, can get into a rut and just say, well, I will just thank everyone, publicly, but it's like sometimes there are, be listening. I love how you said, Kristen, you listen to your gut. Sometimes in my shows, I'm listening for little tricks, not tricks, tips, indicators that, they may need a encouraging word after or whatever. And so those are the ones I put on my hit list. So I don't go through and thank and, shoot a video of thanks for attending any of my stuff after, but I listen for maybe, 2 or 3.
I love that. I actually really love that.
I was hoping you would go there with that, Dawn, because I'm like, you can't respond to everybody.
No,
very difficult.
That's an interesting way to do it, because you're right. You can't respond to everyone. My approach has always just sort of been more of a do what you can when you can kind of deal. But I like that you're specifically honed in on it that way. That's interesting. All right, you guys, we have one more question. And I just want to say that, again, this is another question that I framed for the benefit of community managers. So when I wrote this question, this is what I had in mind, like what might be useful for a community manager. So question 5 is, a lot changed in 2015 alone. What does 2016 hold for live streaming as it relates to community? So what I'm driving at here is, what might a community manager want to be paying attention to or thinking about for the coming year with live streaming?
I'll jump on the first this time.
Go ahead, Brian.
For me, I actually think of it as employee advocacy, and I will say, to me, I did a little rant earlier about why I love community managers and why I think brands underestimate them and they undervalue them, yet they want them to be the face of the company, the storytellers, the first to engage, the customer service, the sales team, the marketing team, and yet will treat you like an intern and not understand your true value. And that's kind of, to me, the thing that's drove me, my skin crawl in the community management space. But I think employee advocacy, brands are realizing that you have a great company because you have great employees. And if I was a community manager, I would actually intertwine what I do. Like the day in the life of a community manager on live stream, I mean, hey, Brew, if you're listening to this right now, let's do something between now and this year, this spot next year, and let's pick out a day, and we say everybody that's a community manager does a 20-minute Periscope giving the day in the life of community manager, because the best way for us to tell people how awesome we are is to actually tell the story of the community manager and tell the story of the employee. And I will say this, I believe community is the future of business. I believe collaboration is the future of innovation. And I think video actually ties those two things together. Because when you can empower an employee to tell their story, when you trust them, when you give them access to your community, and you let them tell their story, we relate better, we care better, we understand that. I mean, listen to the people that are winning awards at this event right now. All of those brands, we care about that brand not because of the product, but because of the community manager that is representing that for all of us. And that's why I love Periscope, because Periscope has Lily, and Lily is an amazing community manager on the Periscope team. So for me, my excitement of 2016 is employee advocacy will start to have a face. It's not about automating tweets and calling that employee advocacy. It's about empowering your employees to tell their own individual stories. And guess what? Community managers are the best at this. We should start doing it as community managers.
Yeah, I guess my point on my take on this, my angle here, is what community managers should look out for. And community managers are great at managing the community, right? But I think because live stream is trending more mainstream, I think community managers need to be on the lookout for ways to now jump in and engage on live streams being done by their, by that brand's customers, or their brand's customers, clients. It's going to be a lot more work, but you may see a community manager role morphing into, hey, we have our live stream community manager that is just going to watch potential live streams or live streams where people are complaining about their product, reviewing their product, praising their product, or let's take Applebee's, people that are in their Applebee's stores live streaming or doing something, restaurants, not stores. So I think that's where it morphs, maybe towards the end of 2016, more 2017, but I see that happening, and brands need to pay more attention. It's not just a broadcast tool. Now you have to jump and engage just like you did on Twitter. Applebee's is really great at responding on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Well, are they going to start doing that when people are talking on live streams? And how cool is that? I mean, Brian and I, we know, because we were given the power to the Applebee's kingdom, and we jumped in on people's streams from the Applebee's account, and we're commenting, and people are like, oh my god, Applebee's is in my account, this is so freaking cool, they're watching me right now. Like, it was so empowering. So imagine taking that to the next level. Imagine Red Bull doing that to you, or Coca-Cola, or Taco Bell, or Mazda. Imagine these brands coming in and talking to you as you're talking about their product, or you're eating their food, or you're doing something. Like, that's the next level for community managers. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of work, and not, but I would only trust an awesome community manager to handle that.
I'll go ahead and jump in here because I think 2015 people talk about it being the year of live streaming coming, busting out. And I think that just a little perspective change that all of the folks that are doing the live streaming are really ahead of the curve. And I think that if people stop, I mean, sometimes that curse of being like in the Bay Area where you basically think everyone is wired, everyone is, where I am at, and this is not true. If a lot of early adopters stop and turn around and look behind them, there's a huge boatload of corporations that have yet to be trained and brought into the power of this. And so I think my encouragement to community managers is that you have a skill set that brands are going to crave. They're going to need to know how to engage a community, because this is a new way of doing business. This is a new way of engaging, with your tribe. And I think that the skill set you bring, live streaming, is just be prepared to do a lot of training. I'll say to the later adopters who have really, really big wallets.
Yeah, I think I'm piggybacking on a lot of what everybody's already said, but prepare for policies and voice to be the most important it's ever been, because I think as much as we've seen go awry in social in previous years, it could be potentially even worse in a live format. So as sunshine and rainbows as live streaming could potentially be for community and community managers, it could also be the other side. So I think just it's a word of caution. It's a word of caution, because if there's going to be more execution, there may be more mistakes.
Preach, sister.
Outstanding. Well, on that note, I think I'm so proud of you panelists, because not only did you kick total ass, but we wrapped up in a timely fashion.
Way to prove Sherry wrong.
Super excited about that.
Well, Sherry was looking at the panel and was like, all right, Landino and Fanzo, great.
She said earlier, she said this should be voted for the most likely to go over panel of the entire day. So we wasn't alone. Oh, Dom, thanks, Dom.
Hey, it's because we respect you, Kristen.
Thanks so much again to all of the panelists. You guys are amazing, and I hope that everyone that's watching live or replay, I hope you follow these folks and stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. It was you guys rock and rolled. It's really awesome to see you guys get fired up, and the digital soapboxes that you were standing on and yelling from were marvelous. So,
hey Dom, can you give that shirt to Brian Fanzo?
The Vanilla Forum shirt?
Oh, that's nice. Nicely played. I got called vanilla yesterday on a Blab, so that's nice. Yes.
So I wouldn't say you're vanilla. Maybe like vanilla bean, like the specialty one.
Can I get sprinkles? Can I get sprinkles at least?
As many sprinkles as you want, buddy.
Do you want rainbow sprinkles? You can get rainbow sprinkles.
I only do rainbow sprinkles. Chocolate.
Thanks. Sprinkles.